had this really powerful thought while drinking the plant medicine that I have put myself in situations to be consistently mistreated by men.
I think I do release some of that, like when I'm working out, like for sure. Right? Not that
Yeah,
they're toxins, but we do release a lot. Like it is energy. Like
yeah,
everything is energy, right? And so
right, right.
working out helps us release some of the energy that just doesn't belong in our body.
We're mostly made up of water. So if this is happening to frozen water and still water, same thing is going to happen to you. How you talk to yourself, how you talk in general matters.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional. I was not planning on crying. Hey, 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 Conscious Crew. We are back for another episode of the Conscious Creative Corner. I am your host, Sia, the Transparent Therapist. And of course, on the podcast today, we are unpacking trauma to heal our relationships. I have a very special guest today. I'm super excited for her to be here because she is a longtime friend. Janeil, what's up?
What's up? What's up? Hey, everybody.
I'm so happy that you're here. So,
Me
I
too.
haven't seen you since graduation. Well, since I graduated. So,
Mm.
I graduated in 2012. So, I haven't seen you since 2012.
Oh my God, 12 years.
And you look the exact same, which is nuts.
So do you. So do you.
Do I? 3 kids later?
Oh my God, 3 kids. I didn't even know it was three.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I had like a factory going in my womb at one point.
Oh my God, goals.
So I am appreciative of you being here because I discovered that though I talk about trauma a lot on my podcast, I don't really talk about the traumatic experiences I've been through. And for some, you're going to hear and you're going to be like, this isn't trauma, but trust me, guys, this was traumatic for me. So
Mhm.
before we get started, just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and yeah, anything else that's kind of special.
Sure. So I'm Janeil. I'm from New York. I live in Harlem right now, but I'm originally from Long Island. And I'm a personal trainer out here in the city. And I also teach group fitness classes. I actually started my own group fitness class, which is called the Enlit, which is like a high energy, easy to follow dance cardio class. And I pair it with mindfulness as well. So after the exercise, we usually listen to a meditation. I'll say something that's on my heart about just being more mindful in life. Um, and it's also been an outdoor fitness class, like that strength and kind of more hip based, because I'm just all about being our best selves. And I know that out exercising outside in the elements and nature is a amazing part of exercise. So that's why I started the class being like that. But then dance is also really important to me. I grew up dancing. So I always thought like, oh, doing exercise on the beat of the music, whether it's like a hit exercise or if it's dance cardio, that always gets people to want to move their bodies more. The music is motivating. So I was like, I love dancing. That's a great way to get people to work out. So I'm going to do that too. So yeah, that's about me. I love to play soccer. I do that recreationally. And I'm also into like plant-based nutrition and holistic health. So, and I wasn't always that way, I was always like into movement and like appreciated physical activity, but I didn't always care about nutrition, or know about the importance of like mindset, mindfulness. So those things have evolved in my life, like since being a trainer, and it's been 11 years now. So yeah, that's about me.
Yeah, to be honest, ever since I knew you, you've always been about fitness, right? If I remember correctly, you used to dance on the dance team at UConn, right?
Yes, I did. I
And then
loved it.
not a cheerleader. What was it called though? So like you
Like,
weren't
yeah, it was the Yukon dance team, and we had our own competitions that we would attend. But then we also supported the football and basketball team, men and women's basketball team. So we would be at all the home games for them, and then travel with the basketball team as well. So we would be out on the court doing our thing, as well as the cheerleaders and the mascot. We were considered all one program, Yukon Spirit, Pride, and Tradition. So yeah, we all had the same coach. as the mascots and cheerleaders. So some people would mistake us for cheerleaders because we also had the pom poms in our hands, but we were the dance team and we dance at the timeouts. Cheerleaders would cheer at the timeouts. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely was one of those people. Sometimes people, I would be like, "Oh yeah, she cheers." Wait, no, she doesn't. She dances.
Yeah. I mean, we would say cheers too, so it was okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
loved it. I wish I could do that again. I really
Oh,
love
you were
being.
so inspiring. I used to love to dance, but I didn't. I not to that level. I think we connected on that though too because I used to do the what was it called? So they had like the African dance thing, and I can't remember what it used to be called, but I used to love dance, and we met through HDFS, right? So HDFS
Ah,
was Human Development and Family Studies. Um, I wanted to be a HDFS major, but then I
yeah.
didn't actually. So do you know? I don't even know if I shared this with you. So I actually didn't graduate with an HDFS major as an
I didn't
HDFS.
know that. What
Yeah,
did
I
you get?
didn't.
English?
No. So yes, but no. So I there was this thing called individualized studies or something like that. You can go and create your own major. And so I was
Uh-huh.
just like, yeah, I like HFS, but I also love communication sciences, like the marketing piece. And then I also really loved English, right? And so I remember I had to present in front of a board and explain to them why I thought my major needed to be created. And I created like a major called Family and Media. And so
Mm,
I graduated with that. It was a lengthy process because at one point I thought I wasn't going to graduate because they wouldn't approve my program. And like I had one
uh-huh.
professor who was just like, "No, I believe in you. Keep doing it." And so I graduated as an individualized major. So
Oh
yeah,
my God. Thank God you had that professor fighting for you.
yeah. But I'm still an HDFS sister, so I'm here.
You absolutely are. You absolutely are. That's so cool. Family and media. I love how you had the foresight to know that media was gonna be a big thing.
Yeah, because I when I was in school, like I loved writing, like I loved blogging. And so I
Uh,
also maybe it was God who was just like, "Hey, one day your face is going to be on the internet and we just got to figure out how." Right? And
yeah.
it helped when I transitioned into doing like telehealth and in-person therapy, right? So that transition was not hard for me at all, where it was hard for some therapists. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're
Oh my
here.
God. Yes, I'm
You're
here.
here. All right. So guys, she's here because I've gone through some trauma, and when I was in undergrad, so I was maybe around like 19, 20-ish, I was in this long-term or long distance sort of kind of relationship with my neighbor. Like he was actually my neighbor. And we went to high school together. I went to college. And I remember we met our freshman year, right, Janelle, I believe?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
freshman year.
Well, your freshman year. So it was my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So we met maybe 3 years into my relationship. And one day I remember going to there was this what do they call it? Like where we eat. It's not a cafeteria, but it's
The
dining
student
hall.
union.
The
Oh,
dining
dining hall.
the dining hall, right? And I remember you seeing me and I was super sad. Like I was super sad. And you just came
Mhm.
up to me and you're like, "Is everything okay?" And you were
Yeah.
the first person I ever spoke to that day about what had happened because the night prior, I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me. My ex boyfriend was cheating on me. And this was a man that we were next door neighbors. So we had like a really good relationship, right? You know, I would always be at his house. He would be at mine, same thing.
Mhm.
And we talked about like living the rest of our lives together, right? And at 19, 20, I'm thinking like, this is it, you know? And then I find out that he cheats on me. And I think my whole world comes crashing down. And the reason why it became traumatic for me is because when I first got together with him, Janelle, people were just like, "Oh, Felicia, don't break his heart. He's such a good guy." And I'm like, why would I break his heart? Right. And I think they got the impression based on like my dating history in high school, right? Where I wouldn't stay in a relationship because I was just like, I'm not going to tolerate foolishness. Right. And
Mhm.
so I think it really tore me down because people saw me as the bad guy, right? Being in
Mhm.
a relationship, not really knowing like, no, he was the bad guy, you know? And
Mhm.
so that day when you saw me, I don't know, and I'm very private. I was just like, "Ugh, I feel like I can trust her. Let me just tell her what's going on." And so I told you
Yeah.
about it. And what you said to me was just like, I don't know if you remember this, but you were like, "Do you want to pray about it?" And no one has ever said that to me ever in my life about problems. They'll just listen and be like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay." And you sat and you prayed with me. Like, oh my God, I'm
Oh,
getting emotional. I feel like I was not planning on crying.
it's okay. It's okay. Tears are good. It's
But
okay.
you sat with me and I know you had something else to do that day. But you sat and you prayed and I was just like, "Oh my gosh." Right? So I didn't have anyone to speak to. I didn't talk to my mom about it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but then I remember just through that prayer, it helped. And I was just like, wait, I'm gonna have to suffer in silence. I mean, later on that day, I had other friends. Shout out to you, Tay, because I know you're watching this. Taylor, do you know who Taylor is?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Taylor, she went to UConn too. She came to my room with a couple of other friends. You know Naomi?
No.
No, she's from New York too, but Naomi, they all came and they were like, "Hey, do we need caveat?" The second year into my undergrad, he went to Eastern, which was maybe 20 minutes down the road, which was what
Uh-huh.
hurt even more. And they were like, "Hey,
Uh-huh.
do you want to go drive to his school? And do you want to go key his car and do all these things?" But I mean, even though it felt great for that support, I feel like what really helped was just the prayer. And so I wanted to
Hmm.
bring you on and say, like, how do you go through friendships, or how do you help friends when you know they're going through a rough time? Like, what was it like for you, kind of seeing me at that broken down stage? And y'all, I'm not gonna apologize for crying. Just maybe
No.
my eyelash might look a little wonky after this.
No, you still look beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how do I
What,
show up for friends?
and what was it like for you, kind of helping me go through that?
I think it's just important to be there and be present for people, when they're going through things. Um, and I just I just did that. I went to a religious-based school like throughout my life. Like I went to Catholic school until 8th grade, and then I went to a Lutheran school for high school. So like prayer was very much a daily part of my life. And just it was poured into me the power of talking to God. And like I had friends that had prayed for me, offered that kind of support when I was going through something tough. Um, I feel like the first friend that I feel like really did that for me was one of my really good friends, Bethany. Something must have been, I can't even remember specifically what happened, but I feel like she said, like, can we pray together, or can I pray for you about this? And like we just like did it together. So I feel like that being done for me is
Mm,
what inspired me to share that with you. Each one teach one, pay it forward, and prayer is powerful, you know. And if you don't want to call it prayer, if you want to call it, speaking things into existence. But the words we say are super powerful. That's why affirmations also work, because words have power, you
mm-hmm.
know. So,
They they do. I
yeah,
was
they do.
telling someone about that. I don't know if you're familiar with the experiment. There's actually multiple experiments when it comes to words, and one of them is like where uh, there's ice and it's frozen. There's two things of ice and they freeze it, and then one of them they write like really positive words on, the other one they write negative words on, and the one with negative words comes out and it has like a lot of broken patterns and it looks horrible, right? But the one that they wrote positivity over, really the patterns are beautiful and they look like very pleasing to the eye. And the same thing with plants, they did the same thing with plants, and like one that got spoken to with like words of affirmation and love grew beautifully, and the one that just got no attention at all or no like positive affirmations, it kind of died and withered, right? And so words are 100% powerful. And so I can't even tell you to this day what you said when you prayed for me. I was just like so overcome with emotion. And now I think about it, I don't think I've ever even said this out loud, which tells me that I need to go back and do some processing.
Hmm.
I had like such an emotional reaction to it. But for you, do you remember any parts of that conversation whatsoever?
I don't at the moment, but I also want to say something about what you talked about with the frozen water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with something. I think there's a book by a Japanese guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he did an experiment where he was talking to the water, and like there was differences in, like, same kind of thing, positive and negative talking to the water. And I just want to say, as human beings, we are 90% water,
Yes,
you
we are.
know? So that vibration, that energy, same thing is happening inside of us. We're mostly made up of water. So if this is happening to frozen water and still water, same thing is going to happen to you. How you talk to yourself, how you talk in general matters.
Mhm, mhm. And, I add that too, like, when I was ever I tell my clients this whenever they have, like, self-deprecating speech or, like, things that are not really, uplifting their spirits. I say, like, "You need to be mindful of how you speak to yourself because those words do matter," right? I don't know who came up with "Sticks and stones won't break my bones, will break my bones, but words will never harm me." That is such baloney,
It
right?
is. It
Because words
is.
hurt, words hurt, actions hurt. So I do appreciate you for being there with me, which is why I was just like, oh, I have to have her on because she made such an impact. And I was telling you earlier, right? Whenever I think about joy, I literally picture this woman. Like, I don't think I've ever, and I'm sure you have your bad days, but like, I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen you sad, Janelle. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I've been like an emotional wreck in front of you, and I've
Hmm.
never seen you sad. And of course, I know you get sad, right? But
Yeah.
how is it that
Yeah.
you find joy all the time?
Um, how do I find joy all the time? Um, I think I try to be grateful,
Hmm.
practice gratitude. Um, and I don't think I always find joy. I went through this, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe like a program or something like that during COVID, and someone was talking about energy and just like paying attention to my own energy and stuff like that. And like she talked about like this spectrum, like maybe on one end is like the worst feeling in the world, like despair, or I don't know what it actually would be, but let's say it's despair. And then on the other end of the spectrum is like joy, or just think about like the highest, happiest vibration you could feel. And different days, you're at different places on the spectrum, and like it's not really realistic to go say you're feeling despair to go all the way to joy,
Right.
but maybe like one step ahead on the spectrum from despair is discontent, you know? So
Hmm.
I try to like pay attention to how I'm feeling and maybe just try to get one rung above like what I'm feeling in that moment. Especially because, my work is very in front of people, and my energy matters and how I show up into a space matters. So I'm not, if something, no matter what happens in my day, at any moment in time, how I show up to my clients is really important. It's going to affect their experience. And I know I do a pretty good job of like, no matter what's happening in my life, like I show up in a decent place for them. I mean, no one's ever told me that they didn't like my energy for that day. Maybe that has happened, but no one has told me that. And I know there's been times when I didn't feel the best and I still had to do my job. Um, is it going to look like days when I'm genuinely happy and stuff like that? Probably not, but at least it's at a level where I can have a positive impact on the person I'm in front of for that hour,
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and I allow myself to feel my feelings, if I need to cry and stuff like that, I do that, at home or wherever. I learned that tears are like healing. So like, if you're crying, like not necessarily to wipe them away, like something physical happens healing wise, like when your tears hit your cheek. Um,
Oh, I've never heard of that. Can you explain? Like, can you expound more on that?
explain more. I don't
Yeah.
know enough to share that much more, but
Okay. Okay. Okay.
someone that is like, I forgot what her job is, but I think she must be a grief counselor. I think that's what she is.
Okay.
And so she said something like, when the tears, I'm sure if we Google it, something would come up, but like when the tears hit your cheek, there's some type of healing that
Mm-hmm.
happens internally to let you know that you're okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Maybe maybe a protective factor. Like, I'm just thinking on trauma through a trauma lens, and so I tell people all the time, like, your tears, I'm so conditioned to saying, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, right? So you
Yeah,
should never be sorry. And so, like, when clients and patients are crying, they're like, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't apologize, it's energy. Like, it's a body
yeah,
there for a reason, right? And so maybe the connection is, the tears are just saying like everything's okay, or like, you're safe still because you have the ability to emote, like give emotion, right?
Yeah.
Just I don't know. I'm gonna have to do more research, but that's so interesting to know that, that's the way in which it was interpreted. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I know that you know these like really cool facts. And before the show, we were kind of talking about like your recent trip to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
To share a little bit about that and like what you've learned and things when it comes to the healing space, especially healing that lives in our body, which trauma does. So,
Yeah. So yeah, I went to Costa Rica at the beginning of May for a plant medicine ceremony. And if anyone's familiar, the specific plant that I used it was yahe, Yage. Um, Very similar to ayahuasca. It's a psychedelic and it's has been used for thousands of years in a lot of South American cultures. Um, so this is a plant medicine that's used for healing purposes.
hmm
So like I said, I'm very into the holistic wellness space. So I know physical exercise is important. I know the foods and what we consume from a nutrition standpoint are important, and that's why I choose to live a plant-based lifestyle. So I don't consume any animal products. I try to stick to like naturally occurring foods, staying away from processed foods and things like that. So I know the healing power of plants. And so when a friend of mine shared with me about plant medicine and like what that entails, I was very open to trying it, you know. So the ceremony is performed with a shaman. You drink this plant medicine, and it's supposed to help you heal from certain things. So, like, yes, I went into the ceremony with a particular intention, and I really do feel it's pretty personal, so I'm not going to talk too much about it.
hmm
Um, but I do feel healed from that one really big one. And outside of that, I'll share something that I feel slightly healed from, but had a little relapse last night. Um, so the idea, I had this really powerful thought while drinking the plant medicine that I have put myself in situations to be consistently mistreated by men.
hmm
And that has been like situationship wise, relationship wise. And it's not that I'm being abused by people in relationship. It's just like I have certain expectations and like they're just not being met, but I still stay in the relationship because I think it's going to get better. Or like something is a situationship and I think it's going to turn into something more. And I say like until last night because last night I'm single and I thought about, oh, like I kind of want to call my ex. Oh, I kind of want to call this person that was a previous situationship. I didn't. I'm so happy I didn't. Last night was a full moon. Don't know if it had anything to do with that, but I was, and I feel like I don't have those types of feelings often, but it's just like last night. And I think it's because this is why what you consume is very important. Like the food you consume is important. But I started watching Sex in the City. I've never watched that show in my life. I just started watching it, and I think like seeing like a lot of the relationship stuff. Like these women are in relationship every new one every episode, and maybe on a subconscious level, like I don't know, it planted something in my mind to like think more about relationship.
Ooh.
So I'm glad I didn't make any calls last night. But yeah, I feel like having that awareness from the plant medicine ceremony about my responsibility in these different relationships was very important because I'm just like, I feel like a very immediate reaction was like, oh, this person, like, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Oh, they suck too. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But like, I play an important role here. I'm choosing to be with this person, even though they told me they don't want a relationship. You
hmm
know, I'm choosing to stay in this relationship even though I'm seeing this person really isn't capable of giving me what I need right now and what I want right now. And yes, there's some great things, but I'm also not seeing some other things that I know are necessary for me when I'm with somebody. So, yeah, seeing my responsibility and the role I play was very important.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, right? Because even that's
Yeah.
personal, right? And just
Mhm.
being able to take accountability, it means a lot, right? Saying
Mhm.
like, hey, this is the role I'm playing. Um,
Mhm.
do you care if I ask bound I preach boundaries every single like anyone that comes on. Like, so if you feel like, hey, I
Yeah.
have to answer that right now, just be like, oh, I'd rather not answer, right? But do you
Yeah.
feel like maybe there's a part of you that is you everyone longs for connection, right? But is there a part of you that feels like, well, maybe it's easy to call my ex or think about my ex or text my ex because it's a point of familiarization, like you're very familiar with that connection?
Yeah, definitely.
And so that familiar connection doesn't pose a risk. It's a risk, right? Because there's an X for they're an X for a reason, but you might be seeing it or perceiving it as a smaller risk than meeting someone new, right? Because you already know subconsciously the predictable patterns that might happen if you do. And again, I say subconscious because you're not gonna say like, "Hey, I know I'm always gonna get into an argument with this person," or "I always know this person is gonna mistreat me." That's like in the back of your mind. What's in the front of your mind is, hey, I already know this person. I don't have to go through like the stages of getting to know them, right? Which is a smaller risk than meeting someone completely new, not knowing what the pattern that you two are going to establish might be, right? Ah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And then I also feel like in that specific moment of desiring human connection, it's way easier to just call someone I know, like versus like I'm not going to be asked out on a date in that moment. You
Right.
know, I'm not really scared to meet new people. I'm very like interested in meeting new people and things like that. It's I just haven't had anyone to like go on a date with or like, you know, anything like that that I actually want to go out on a date with. And so like in that moment of like desiring human connection, like the quickest and easiest thing is to, I guess, call that person that you're familiar with. I guess I could have gone out, but I didn't want to go out. I didn't feel like going out. I wanted to be home. And
Yeah.
I guess it's just like that, yeah, it's that comfort, that familiarity, and like that, I don't know, probably some like neurochemical, maybe it's dopamine, like would get like dopamine would provide like some type of satisfaction feeling, you know, even if it's not gonna go anywhere. Just talking to them
Mm-hmm.
would provide something, but maybe at the expense of blocking future blessings and like you're opening a kind of wound. And honestly, the real reason I feel very fine to be friends with my ex, but I feel like he needs some time. Like not from like an angry standpoint, but just like, you know, I know he needs time to like get over me and like our relationship not working out. So I feel like that was I didn't want to like interrupt because we haven't really been talking for
Yeah.
a couple weeks. Um, so I didn't want to like disrupt his healing process.
Do you mind me asking? Was it a mutual breakup?
Was it mutual? Not really. I think he wanted to stay in it. He did want to stay in it, so it wasn't mutual. But he understands why like I felt the need to end things,
Yeah.
you
And you,
know.
yeah.
To be transparent, it was finances that got in the way.
That's important. All
It
right.
is important.
Especially if people are in their transitional period of gaining more finances or switching jobs, looking for new jobs. And we know that
Mhm,
we like to live a certain lifestyle. And some of our lifestyles is, hey, I want to go travel. And if you can't come with to me, come with me to Costa Rica, then hey,
mhm,
we can't do this, right? Or
mhm,
pardon me, or it's just like, hey, you have big dreams and that person hasn't quite caught up to the dreams in which you have, right? And so it makes a lot of sense too. And so I mean that's very commendable where you're like, hey, I'm not going to interrupt him, we're friends, so we are friends, right? I was under the impression you weren't friends, so you're friends, but I'm
mhm,
not going to interrupt him because he still had a longing for you or has, right? Whereas you're like, hey, this isn't going to work until maybe you get yourself into a different place. So the plant Iowa, that is not what you say.
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So the plant ayahuasca that helps with healing internal like stress, it seems,
A
or
lot of things. Like there was someone there that was battling addiction,
mm,
alcoholism. You know,
mm-hmm,
a lot of people use it to like um stop their or heal their addictive behaviors. I feel like trauma, any sort of trauma, you know, some people maybe lost parents, healing from anything, you know, it can help with that.
Does
It
it?
forces you to be introspective, you know, and can give like clarity towards your future. Like it's Mother Nature. So I feel like whatever kind of intention you set, it provides what you need regarding that.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah. And
So I
everybody responds to it differently, you know.
like so everyone's not going to be introspective.
I think so. And like I probably have more to learn about this medicine, but I think it does encourage everyone to be introspective. Some people have visions and hallucinations. I didn't have any of that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So is this something that you would bring back to your clients when you're with your do you consider yourself
No,
a fitness coach or a fit you use a trainer? Like,
yeah, I consider myself a personal trainer, group fitness instructor. So you have to have a shaman lead you in this.
okay.
So the
Okay.
shaman that they say that you sit with the medicine, the shaman that I sat with is from Costa Rica. I mean, sorry, he's from Colombia. He actually has his own healing center there. I would love to visit his healing center one day. Where I stayed in Costa Rica was amazing as well.
Mhm.
It was jungle, beautiful. But I would love to see him in his space, how he does it. Um, so no, I wouldn't necessarily share this with my clients. I feel like, you know, some of them I talked to about it, that this was something that I did. And I didn't tell everybody because not everyone's like super open-minded, you
Mhm.
know. I didn't feel the need to share with everybody. But some people that I felt like right to share it with them, I did.
Mhm.
And so I wouldn't be one to distribute this to them, but they all know that I'm plant-based. So yeah. Like
So
if it probably would maybe wouldn't like be so foreign to them to think that this is something that I participated in. Some of them have had friends that have also participated in it. Oh yeah, one of my clients, she said I wouldn't do it. Like everyone I know that does it gets a divorce.
wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume
So
that she's married as well.
yeah, I think she is divorced too. Yeah, she is divorced too, but she's in a relationship. But she
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
want to re
One is
they
oh,
that's like a mutual thing between the two of them. Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Nonetheless, though, it sounds like you really enjoyed going through the ceremony, ingesting it, being more introspective. You said that it did help you heal from a bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
You said you relapsed, but you didn't. You said you almost
Yeah.
relapsed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess I almost relapsed. I was just surprised that I was feeling how I was feeling yesterday, but it's okay. Um, and something I will say, so it's not a very, you drink the medicine and it's not comfortable the whole time. Like you have like stomach discomfort and you purge.
I was gonna say, do you like vomit and
Yeah. Yeah, you vomit. It can come out the other way too. And like I felt like slight stomach cramping like steadily.
hmm
While it was in my system. So, but when like you feel it and then like you purge and you feel better. But then like you drink more medicine and you'll feel it again. So, yeah.
oh my god, it sounds like so. I just did an episode. I mean, I don't think he so Kel Mitchell, right from Kenan and Kel, he went through
Oh,
you know who I'm speaking about, right?
I
Yeah,
do, but I didn't know you had an episode with him. That's so
yeah.
cool.
No, not with him. I wish.
Oh.
On him, on him, on him.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and like he was experiencing. I just don't remember. I think he just went to like a prayer group, maybe. I don't remember
Hmm.
if they ingested anything. I'm gonna have to watch it again. But it sounds like
Hmm.
something similar happened, right? Where he kind of like um
Per.
purged. Yeah, they purged, right?
Oh, okay.
To kind of get rid of like any things that were attached to them, like demons or anything like that, or spiritual strongholds. That's the word I'm looking for. Spiritual strongholds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm glad it's working for you. You're doing what you have to do. You're on this healing journey.
Mhm.
I was plant based. Um,
Yeah.
for how long? I was actually, you know what got me pregnant? Being plant based.
Well, you were so healthy.
I was, oh my gosh. So I was trying to have my firstborn. We were trying to have a baby for a while, but
Yeah.
we gave up. And then I like started to become vegan, right? Do you know Mashara? You do know Mashara.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, my sister. So
Yeah.
Miss Sharo, I remember she kind of helped me along the way, and then I became vegan. But she's vegetarian. I became
Yeah.
vegan, and then
Yeah.
not long after, I got pregnant, and then I got pregnant again, and then I got pregnant again.
Yeah.
But then since then, I stopped. I'm pescatarian. I still don't eat meat. But
Hmm.
I'm pescatarian now. But I thoroughly enjoyed the plant based life. I still do primarily just eat plant based. Maybe once a week I might have some kind of fish, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, so I enjoy hearing that you're plant based because I know you weren't always plant based at all.
No, I did stop eating meat for like a very short stint during college because there was a time when there was people outside near the student union, like you know that strip by the student union to the
Mhm.
library. What is that called again?
Yeah, beats me. I don't know.
I
My
feel like
mem
it had a name.
it something
But
way maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
there were some people out there showing animal cruelty videos.
Oh,
And like they weren't trying to tell people to stop eating meat. They said just limit your meat consumption. So I did that. And I was like, then I wasn't eating meat. But that only lasted like a couple months, I think, until I went home for Christmas and there was oxtail on the table.
yes.
So, right. Um, but yeah, so that wasn't really for health reasons. I was like for animal cruelty. But this time around, since I stopped eating meat, 4 years ago during COVID, it was like for health reasons. And it was because, COVID, they're talking about everyone getting sick and like your
Mm,
immune system. And I came across the information of this doctor. His name is Dr. Bobby Price, but he goes by Dr. Holistic on Instagram. And he'd be on Instagram Live talking about the relationship between what you eat and your health. And so, like, some of the stuff started to like make sense to me. And I was like, okay, like, he has a detox that's all herbs that are like burdock root and red clover leaf. Like, basically, it's these two teas for improving your gut health. One is for getting rid of parasites and candida out the body. The other is just improving your gut health. I can't remember specifics, but he talks about the importance of doing a detox to get rid of inflammation and toxicity out the body. And while you're on the detox, you eat plant based, and ideally you continue eating plant based after the detox. So I was like, I'm gonna give this a try. Is it frozen? Oh, I thought it was frozen.
no, no.
Um, you're just a great listener. Um, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And like I became a part of his private health group. It's a membership program, and he would like go on Zoom, we could interact with him more. And like I just started learning so much and like saw the results in myself. I saw my skin improved. I felt like my energy levels improved. This was a big one. My farts used to smell really bad. They stopped smelling really bad. That's because you're not eating anything that can be raw and be dead inside you. So you're not going to give up that same smell. And this was during COVID, which is amazing because I also learned about, deodorant, like typical deodorant, um, has things inside of it, has aluminum and like some other thing inside of it that can block your lymph nodes. That's why you don't sweat as much when you wear deodorant. So I stopped wearing deodorant during that time, which was great that it was during lockdown. So, you're going to give off some odor in the beginning,
You'll be
and you're
fine.
not trying. Yeah. And then so but I detox that out. So even so I mostly use key lime instead of deodorant now.
Mm.
And yeah. So I forgot where I was going with all this. And I wanted to say something about, oh yeah, you said plant-based is what got you pregnant. Yeah, because do you feel like your body was in a healthier state and that's why you got pregnant?
Probably. Because
Because that,
I always worked out.
mhm,
The only changing thing was my husband, listen, I'm gonna cook and I'm only cooking once. So I became
yeah,
plant-based and he had to be plant-based too. And so
yeah,
maybe, right? So the only thing that changed was what I was eating. And I feel like maybe I definitely had more energy, 100%. I was less irritable, like 100% less irritable because I used to get irritated very easily. But that's me learning, like, okay, wow, they pump these animals with hormones, right? And then they have to mass
yeah,
produce these animals too. And it was never about cruelty to me. And honestly, if somebody wants to eat meat, I'm not gonna shame you for it. Like that's your lifestyle. But I know for
right.
me, it was just like, yeah, I can feel the difference.
Hmm.
And it forced me to eat more veggies, right? It forced me
Yeah.
to eat more whole, like like whole life. I think they call it whole life 30 or something like that. Like eat that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
And so I just appreciated it more, and I guess it was less stress in my body. And we know that pregnancy come it's hard to get pregnant when you're super stressed. And like if I knew I was already doing things like cognitively, internally, I probably had to do some things too. So yeah, for sure. I think that's what it was. So
I think so too. It makes complete sense because like sometimes people don't aren't getting pregnant and then like they change how they're eating, just like you said, eating more plant-based foods, whole foods that are naturally occurring, and then their body is in the more healthier state
mhm.
to conceive, you know? So, and it goes for the men too. Sometimes, their sperm isn't as healthy as it could be because of how they're eating. And if you're going to consume mostly naturally occurring foods now, that's also going to make your sperm healthier. So it's a combination of the two for the two of you, you know? You don't know who it affected more and whatever. But it's beautiful that what happened happened, three
Mhm.
times, three blessings. That's amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
happy that you're really a living testament to like changing what you consume can have a positive effect. And I love that you said like you were consuming more plants and fruits, because some people think, well, I don't need any meat or animal products, so I'm healthy. I'm vegan, I'm healthy. But no, because you can be vegan and like eating a lot of junk food and a lot
Mhm.
of chemically processed things that are just as bad for you as consuming hormone infested meat.
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So it's really about being intentional to consume the plants. That's
Yeah.
why I like to say plant based.
Mhm. Instead of like vegan, right?
Yeah, instead of vegan, I usually say alkaline plant-based because a step
Mm.
further from like being exclusively plant-based is like alkaline, which is consuming things that are not hybridized, no chemicals, just naturally occurring foods.
Mhm.
That's how I mostly eat. Sometimes I will go out to eat and don't eat alkaline, but most of how I eat is alkaline, especially like how I cook for myself is alkaline.
I desire to get to that step. Mish is always sending me like, so I consult with her all the time because I know she's like really into, she's a holistic doctor, right? And so I know or naturopathic doctor, I think.
Uh-huh.
That's the proper term. And I know she's really into those things. And so she would kind of tell me like, hey, this is what you would eat for this blood type. This is what's more alkaline. This, and so I love it. I just
Yeah,
don't have the commitment to get to that space right now.
that's okay.
So a step at a time makes a lot of sense. So, in this fitness world, right? So you're a
Yeah.
trainer. What would you say are some common like mental health benefits that you've observed with your clients as you're training them when it comes to their fitness journey?
Yeah. Mood improvement, mood improvement for sure. I've seen that in myself. I've seen that in my clients. Sometimes they'll start the session, they're saying how tired they are, how stressed they are. And like at the end of the session, sometimes they have more energy. Sometimes like whatever was stressing them out prior to, it's not as heavily on their mind anymore. Or maybe they feel more clear headed about it. And I've seen that in myself. Sometimes I notice like, oh, I'm not in the best mood today. Like, and like sometimes, most of the time when that happens, like I haven't worked out for that day, you
Oh
know?
my goodness. Yes. Just to
Yeah,
interject really quickly, my
yeah,
husband
yeah,
just does not understand, right?
yeah.
Why I don't like going to bed past 11 because I have to wake up at 5 to work out.
Wow.
Otherwise, my mood is so off for that day. And I'm talking like to really snappy. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And just from like, sometimes I think about like, why is that? Like, I'm sure things are happening internally on a hormone level, but I also think like maybe you're holding on to something energetically and like you actually physically sweat it out.
Mhm.
Sometimes you sweat out the fatigue. Sometimes you sweat out like a food inside of you that is causing you to feel uneasy,
Mhm.
just like that movement, that blood flow to the brain, to the muscles, like it really makes a difference.
It does. It does. And I will say too, like I'm learning more about nightshade. So like I have condition. I have an autoimmune condition,
Uh-huh.
and I'm learning to, which makes me sad, right? Is one of the things, like, I almost broke down in my doctor's office because they're like, "Oh, well, you can't eat this, you can't eat that." And I'm just like, "But I eat veggies," and like, so I'm learning like some fruits and veggies are nightshades, and so even knowing that I might consume some by accident, I think I
Mhm.
do release some of that, like when I'm working out, like for sure. Right? Not that they're
Yeah.
toxins, but we do release a lot. Like it is energy. Like
Yeah.
everything is energy, right? And so I
Right.
think
Right.
working out helps us release some of the energy that just doesn't belong in our body.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And another thing that I've noticed with my clients and in myself, like we'll do like hard things while exercising, and you feel like better able to handle like the hard things that come your way that are not even exercise related. Say
Mm,
your spouse is like upsetting you, children could be upsetting you, your work is upsetting you, like maybe usually that feels like unbearable,
mm-hmm.
but because you did something so challenging physically, you're better able to handle those other stressors.
Mm-hmm. I believe
And-
it, right? So cognitively, you set the platform, right? So it's just like, hey, I perceive this thing as being really huge, right? And
Mhm.
I guess I don't believe I can do it, right? I lack confidence in myself. And so once you endure it, now these little arguments that you have with your significant other or something that happens at work, you're like, well, this is nothing, right? Because on a cognitive level, you've already surpassed this hard obstacle or something that you viewed as hard. So like our perception means a lot, especially when it comes to just on a cognitive level. So that makes a lot of sense. Do you have any
Yeah.
like specific exercises or techniques that you use? I know I heard you say mindfulness a little
Yeah.
earlier. With your clients though, if they're like, "Hey, I had a really hard day," is it like, "Hey, okay, maybe you do these burpees because I know this is going to help connect um cognitively for you." So, are there any specific movements or techniques or exercises that you use that you find particularly like effective when it comes to boosting mental health?
Yeah. So I had a client yesterday and she said like she's been going through a hard time with her son. And so when we started the session yesterday, um I focused a lot on stretching her hips because we can
Mm,
hold a lot of stress and tension in our hips. And so we started off doing like a lot of hip stretches, a lot of hip mobility kind of things. Um just because I felt like that would be really good for her. And we also I didn't want to do anything too hard because if you're already emotionally taxed, cortisol can be released in the body. And then, like, when you exercise, cortisol is also released in the body. So, for some people, if they're going through a hard time, doing really hard exercises is going to work for them. And for other people, maybe that's not so great because there's just going to be so much cortisol and stress in the body and it's just too much. Everyone's different. I just felt she would respond better to like not having too intensive a workout for that day, just
mm-hmm,
from knowing her. And at the end of the session, she felt so much better.
mm,
She was in a way better mood. She, I don't think this was the same day. It could have been like Monday. She had like flu-like symptoms. And I think when I saw her Thursday, it was mostly about the sun. But I remember even the day when she had like the flu-like symptoms, which was only like this session before, she like was coughing and everything less at the end of the session, you
wow,
know?
wow, wow.
Yeah. So, and for that session specifically, I know we didn't do anything too intense.
Mm-hmm,
But what we did do, just like low impact kind of stuff, which doesn't mean everything's easy, but just like not as impactful, you know. It gets the blood flowing. If blood can flow to different areas, more healing can occur. You're breathing more when you're exercising, breathing a little harder, so that's going to contribute to healing as well. So yeah, I would say figure out what kind of person you are. If you like when you exercise hard, it's better for you in stressful times of stress, or maybe you just need to take it easy that day but still get things moving. I would focus on the hips, like hip opening stretches and mobility exercises.
That's really interesting. So we do hold stress in our body. And I
Mhm.
use the word stress and trauma interchangeably,
Mhm.
just because some people are just like, oh, trauma is like I've never oh, it was something really big. Like I've never gone to a car accident or I've never had I don't know, gotten to like gun violence, but trauma is just really high levels of stress. And sometimes
Yeah.
we normalize our stress. And so when you say like hips, I remember when I first had my first child, I went to a masseuse. My husband took me somewhere. It must have been like our anniversary, right? And so my mother watched my daughter and we both got massages. And I remember the massage therapist was just like, wow, your hips are really tight. And mind you, I'm a first time mom. And so I'm
Hmm.
always stressed at this point. And it
Yeah.
makes sense that you say that because we do hold a lot of, in our diaphragm actually area, right? A lot of stress is held there. And so when you do work out too, it forces us to exhale because a lot of us actually are holding our breaths all the time and we're not breathing, which is all
Yeah.
that pent up stress in our body. And so
Hmm.
working out forces you to exhale. So I'm
It's
glad you
true.
said that. I'm really glad you said that. So for
Yeah.
you, at this point, is there anything that you would share when it comes to not therapy, I'm sorry, when it comes to mental health and fitness? Like what is something that you would recommend or do you recommend pairing these two together when it comes to just healing?
Yes. Oh my God. That's part of the reason why I created my class, Fit and Lit, because I wanted to create something fun for people to work out with the music, whether it was to the beat of the music, whether it was dance or burpees. I always thought doing burpees to the beat of the music was fun and
Mhm.
encouraging. But also, like around the time when I started Fit and Lit, I was like going through a breakup. My first love. I thought we were gonna get married, and like that ended, and I came across Tracy G. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she has these she calls them audio vision boards, and they're basically like kind of like I would say affirmation tracks, but not just like affirmations like I am beautiful, I am strong, like I don't know, it's like poetry, and it has like to the beat of the music. Like one of the lines is um I'm grateful for these moving legs and these working feet. Oh no, I'm grateful for this working brain and these moving feet, because both will take my anywhere I need to go. My butt, anywhere I
Oh, I
need to go.
feel like I've heard so very frequently I'll tell Apple Music. I mean not Apple
Uh,
Music. I'll tell Alexa to play like affirmative music, like affirmations. And I think she's the only person I've ever heard. Maybe this is the lady. She's the only person I've probably ever heard who has like affirmations to like a beat of a song and it's an actual song. Like does she have
yeah.
soundtracks? Is this her? Like is this the same person?
There's like an album, yeah. So there's different
It's probably her
ones.
then.
Yeah,
It's
it's
probably
probably her. And then I also like, so anyway, during that time, I used to listen to her a lot. And I was like, oh, it would be cool if there was a class where you listen to this at the end of the workout, because like your mind is just so primed for learning after exercise. Like your
her.
brain actually becomes more sponge-like, so it becomes more receptive to learning. And that's why I created Fit and Lit. I was like, oh, I'm going to play this after people work out so they can like, be in a higher state of being after my workout. Oh, I was saying like I was going through a breakup. So I used to listen to this album like every single day, multiple times a day, and I really started to feel better,
Mm,
because I just loved everything it was saying, and like, I saw that how it really helps me. So I was like, oh, this needs to be a part of something, because this is health,
yeah.
this to be included. And like I feel like at that time I started the class in 2017, so this was probably going on for me around like 2015 and 16, and I feel like mental health and exercise, like people weren't really pairing that at that time.
Mm-mm.
So, but I was like, this has really helped me. I need to like merge this together. So that's why I started Fit and Lit, because it was about, yes, being physically fit, but also enlightening your mind. That's the lit. The lit is like the mind, but also, lit having fun. So it's both. We're fit and we're lit.
I love that.
And lighting up the mind, illuminating the mind, like
Illuminating.
all those words
Listen,
is
I'm
lit.
I'm gonna be in New York in July. How often do you do your classes?
I do them like twice a month. I one of the July dates I already know is going to be July 13th. I don't
Oh
know if
my!
the other.
Oh no, I'm going. So we're going for my sister's birthday. Her birthday is July 15th. so we'll be there that weekend. I was hoping to catch
Oh,
one of your classes, but
yeah,
do you do
it's
them
okay.
virtually too, or no?
I did during COVID, but I prefer in person, so I've been
Yeah.
sticking to in person.
Well,
Yeah.
whenever you decide to film one of them while you're doing it like in person, let me know because I'll definitely attend and support because I love working out. I do. I do
Yeah.
not like burpees. I'll do
Uh-huh.
them. I'll do anything in the world except burpees.
Right, right.
And that part of that is because of my legs, like my knee. But other than that, I will definitely support because I love the concept. Like I genuinely love the concept. Like I didn't know it was this in depth. Like I knew I think Fit and Lit, I think Janeil, but I did not know like you incorporated the two, and that makes it even more powerful. Like
Yeah, yeah.
powerful. Okay, okay. So we're at the point of the show where it's for the culture.
Ooh.
However, if I remember correctly, is your dad Jamaican or is he something else?
My both my parents are Jamaican.
Okay, so we're in another like conundrum. Do they speak patois like very
Of
actively or
course.
okay, so this is
Yeah.
not gonna work for you, Janelle. So I'm gonna do what I did with my other interviewee, right? So usually I would give you terms and I would ask you to translate them or guess what they are, right?
Mhm.
However, you're gonna know what they are.
Right.
So I'm gonna leave the floor to you. Are there any terms that you use often that you would want to share with our audience? Because I love incorporating my culture because it made me who I am. It's a part of my socioeconomic system. So is there any terms that you would like to share that you might use often or just think that they should know so they can start using it as a part of their regular vernacular?
Jamaican ones or just ones that I say?
So Jamaican, or patois, like
Oh. Um, as you're asking me this, I feel like the only thing I can think of in my head is who can't hear must feel, but that is not the one I'm trying to share right
okay.
now.
Well, you could share it and then probably detest it, if that makes sense.
I mean, I feel like my parents used to just say that to me when I wasn't listening and there was like consequences.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I could put a positive reframe on it
Let's go for
that I
it.
feel like apply like who can't hear must feel like the hearing we can think of as God or intuition.
Hmm.
So if we're not going to listen to that, there's going to be consequences that we experience that we feel from not listening to God, not listening to our intuition that may be unideal for us.
Hmm.
Uh, that's why it's important to, talk to God, listen to your intuition. And I say that like I'm using God and intuition interchangeably because I feel like they're one and the same. Um, and it's like a quiet voice, I'm still learning myself to listen to it. I
Hmm.
do my best. And practices where that encourage you to be still and quiet your mind, like praying, meditation, taking time to breathe. Those are kind of moments sometimes when you'll hear that inner voice.
Hmm.
And if you can listen to that inner voice, I think positive, powerful things can occur for us. But if we don't take the time to listen, then we feel like the negative effects. If we're just like going, 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 not taking time to slow down, we can feel those negative effects.
100%.
Circumstances.
100%. I love the way you reframed that too, right? That was a big one in my household. Probably still is.
I hated that phrase growing
All
up. I hated that.
right, and it was just justification for me getting beat. So,
Right. That's why I'm like, this is traumatic. I don't want to share this.
but I'm sure a lot of people could probably relate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other phrases or words that maybe come to mind? So if like, oh, I got one. So like if, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't. So if I'm like, oh, Janelle, that's my chargy. You know what that means?
Yes.
Tell
Yeah,
the
like my
people.
love.
So chargy. So like friend. Like that's my big friend. My big friend.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
That I never heard that growing up, but I feel like I heard that in a song.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that's how I
maybe
knew
they probably use it a lot in the
that it
songs
was
too.
something of endearment, like a term of
Mhm.
endearment.
Mhm. 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 Because I'm not gonna go around calling everybody my chargy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I am so glad that you were here on the pod. I appreciate you 10 times over just because you didn't have to be here. I know you are a woman of a lot of things. Like I see you on the street, not the street that way, y'all, but like she's on the streets, like doing her thing. I think the last video I saw, because I'm not on Instagram a lot, was you were you dancing? You were in the super, it must have been Halloween maybe. And you were
Mhm.
like, what were you doing on the street? Like people were watching you.
Oh, I was doing exercise that I call living lifts, but they're traditionally called deadlifts, but I like to
Oh.
speak life. So I
Mm-hmm.
call them living lifts. But yeah, I was a competition of who can do the most amount of deadlifts, I think, in 1 minute. And I
Mm-hmm.
won. And it was
Mm-hmm.
on Halloween. So I was like dressed as Wonder Woman,
Wonder
even though I
Woman.
was really just calling myself Super Janelle. Um, yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, 225 pounds. I think you had 1 minute, as many reps as possible.
Wow. And there were men there too doing them, right? Or
Yeah, but they only had the men go against the men and the women against the women. The men, I think their weight was like 385 pounds, something like that. As many as they could in 1 minute, or 315, something like that.
yeah, I wouldn't even be. I wouldn't do one. So big feat for you. A big feat. Oh, okay. So if
Okay.
people want to continue the conversation with you when it comes to ayahuasca, I said it right.
Ayahuasca,
Uh,
yes.
almost. Okay, so ayahuasca, right? Or
Mhm.
any of the traditional healing, or just if they are in the New York area and they're seeing this episode and they want to join Fit and Lit, you are free to give your socials, but I preach boundaries, right? So if you don't want to give your socials, you don't have to, but go ahead and
Mhm.
drop them if you like.
Sure. So my Instagram is Janeil Mason, my first and last name, which I'm sure will be in the notes here.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have one for my class, Fit and Lit NYC is the one for Instagram for my class, Fit and Lit. So you can find me there. I love talking about all things having to do with holistic health and healing. So if you ever want to talk about that, I'm around.
Awesome. I want to thank you again for being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
happy. I'm really happy that we did this. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, for
Yeah.
my listeners, you can share this episode. I would really appreciate it. Just share it to someone that wants to hear about this conversation, how I kind of went through my trauma and how Janelle was a helping hand, and then just
Mhm.
how she goes through her life with her life stressors and the healing resources that she uses through it. And for some of you who have not seen the episode that's going to pop up right here, trust me, you don't want to miss it because it's going to be super juicy and it's going to be super helpful on your healing journey as you're unpacking trauma and healing your relationships. All right, guys, you walk good, keep the vibes high, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.